Morning, guys. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Jack. Hi, Kim. Hi, John. Hi, Downey. So the agenda today in classroom. Hi, Ezra. We're updating our key term guide, just like we would on a normal Friday. 2 new terms, lunar phase and eclipse. Define it based in your own words. All right. You want to add to what I come up with to yours, or we use one of yours. That's fine. All right. Hi, Charlie. Morning. We're going to kind of just do a quick review, take the DNAQ, number 22. All right, people have already been asking, where is it? It's going to get posted shortly once we get through number 1. And then we're going to review quickly the explain section of modeling eclipses and have you guys work on 14 to 17, which is doing a little bit of research on when the next solar eclipse, lunar eclipse is going to happen, and or what type of eclipse would happen next, whether partial or total. All right. So you guys are working right now. Give you a few minutes to do that. Go through some announcements to do your lunar phase and eclipse portion of your key term guide. Where is that? Classwork, references, key term guide. Open it up. You should have a row for eclipse and lunar phase. Define it. Provide a connection. So you're doing those 2 words. While you're defining those, or you're just kind of waiting, roll tide was due Tuesday. Most of you turned it in, which is good. If you want to revise it, make the changes that I deleted the wrong answers for, and the comments I made towards the end. Yeah, my guide's empty, John. I'm slacking. That was the initial version that you guys built from. Anyway, roll tide, to revise the evaluate section of roll tide, make sure you're checking this stream and you're checking the diagrams to do so. All right. Modeling eclipses, that'll be due next week. It'll be due probably end of the day on Monday, because there's only 2 questions in the evaluate for modeling eclipses. There's not much more to do. All right. After we kind of do half of the extend today. All right. Most of next week is doing a study guide, an online study guide, about 14 questions, I believe, about the sun, the earth, and the moon. All right, the study guide is to prep you for a unit test. Your unit test will be Tuesday, April 7th, by locked Google form. It will have multiple choice questions. However, due to the nature of our situation, there's going to be more emphasis placed. How do you know if it's waxing or waning? You look on the right edge of the moon. That right edge of the moon is in daylight, in sunlight, then it's waxing. If that right edge of the moon is in nighttime, it's waning. So we draw like maybe 2 moons to give you an example, right? I'm going to draw a crescent and a gibbous. They're kind of mirrors of each other. How do I know if they're waxing and waning? Because I'm looking right here on the right edge. Looking on the right edge, if it's in daytime, if you see the sunlight, it's waxing. If you see nighttime, it's waning. Even if it's a tiny amount like that in the waning gibbous or the waxing crescent. Remember which quarter is associated with which half of the moon cycle, waxing and waning. First quarter, third quarter, which one is waxing, which one's waning. All right. Third quarter kind of implies it's later on in the cycle. First quarter implies it's early in the cycle. So that's lunar phase. Okay. The phases also, and this is kind of an aside, and it's helping us prep for the quiz. This is kind of doing the review of the quiz and our key terms together. The lunar phases tells us the position of the moon, right? Well, that also can help us figure out the tides. It can help us figure out high and low tide, obviously, because the moon will tell us the daily tides. But also with the sun, the earth, and the moon, you can figure out if the tides are going to be entering a kind of spring version of themselves or if they're going to be entering a neap version of themselves, right? When the sun, earth, and moon are in a straight line, you'll get the spring tides, higher high tides, lower low tides. If you get a right angle, you're going to get the neap tides. You're going to get a lower high tide and a higher low tide. Okay, so keep that in mind, right? Sun, earth, moon, or the moon could be over here. If it's a straight line, it's spring. Could be here, or could be here. That will be neap, right? Waxing usually leaves you winning. I don't know what that means, John. Last night's moon was a waxing crescent. Good job, Kaylee. I tried to get a picture of it, but my camera wasn't picking up the low light very well. Plus, there were like street lights in the way. But yes, last night was a waxing crescent. It was out at night, but it was low in the western sky because it was only going to last for a couple hours. So we'll keep waxing until we get to first quarter in the next few days. Yep. Daily tide, remember high tide, you either have to have the moon directly above you or you have to be on the opposite side of the moon because the moon pulls water to itself. If you are a place where the moon's pulling water from, it's low tide. Just a simple review of the tides because most of your weekly quiz is on tides today. A quarter, 2 of the questions is on phases. Whining. Waxing usually leaves you in whining. Not sure what you're saying. I know some people were typing in their roll tide that they found a little way of saying waxing is maxing. So you're maximizing sunlight. Your other word for the key term guide was eclipse. The partial or total blocking of the sun by either the moon or the earth. I think the definition in those probes is a little too generic. I want you to understand that, remember, we're looking at the sun, earth, and moon. And so the sun provides all light. If the earth's in the way and the moon moves into its shadow, it's a lunar eclipse. If the moon moves between the sun and the earth, and its small umbra, its small direct shadow falls on the earth, and where you're looking at happens to line up with it, you'll see a solar eclipse. When a celestial body is blocked or in the shadow of another. It's a good definition, John. I'd keep that definition. Maybe just add in a connection for the sun, earth, and moon. So in the third box. Eric's asking where the quiz is. Well, Eric, if you saw Reminds, you would have seen that I'm going to post it during the stream about in the middle of the stream. We're doing our review first. Trying to help those who have questions prior. What about the blood moon? Blood moon is a lunar eclipse. That's all it is. Any questions on lunar phases and eclipses? Making sure that you have a term definition down for your key term guide. Can other planets eclipse the sun? Well, like we talked about yesterday. Hold on, I'm just emailing somebody a response because they're asking a question with the quizzes because they don't read Remind. See, there's another one, doesn't, read Remind. So, where is it? John asked, can other planets eclipse the sun? I said, you can get them moving in front of the sun, but it's not called an eclipse. It's called a transit, because another planet like Mercury, being so incredibly small, you're not going to have an eclipse from your view of the Earth. So that's Mercury right there. Got the sun in the background. Mercury's shadow is casting onto Earth, but Mercury's so tiny that it's not going to eclipse the entire sun. The moon, yeah, now you remember? Yeah. The moon is a almost 1-to-1 aspect ratio with the sun. Pretty rare in our solar system to have that. So that's why we have our eclipse. You can get Venus too. Venus is a little larger. And that's it, because you have to have the object between you and the sun. You're on Earth, so there's no other planets between. You can get other objects between it. You can maybe have an asteroid, but you're not going to have another planet. But the further planets you're out, I mean, they'll be able to see transits, but the sun gets smaller too, so it's tougher to see. So probably like a good, I don't know, good balance would be Mercury or Jupiter. They'd be able to see Earth transiting in front of the sun, which is one way we're actually going to try and find life on some exoplanets, trying to see how the light passes through some of those planets transiting across their star, see what kind of compounds and molecules are in their atmosphere, and determine whether those molecules or compounds come from organic processes or not. Like methane usually only comes from an organic process. So if you start detecting methane in some exoplanet atmospheres, due to them transiting in front of their star and analyzing the light from their atmosphere, you might find some indirect potential for life. Talking probably more microbial than something sentient, something intelligent. All right. So if there's no other questions about key term or even about tides, because remember tides are going to take up most of this quiz. There's nothing about eclipses in this quiz because none of the warm-ups, none of the DNAs were about eclipses. It's about knowing what high tide and low tide are. It's about knowing their alignment, right? Having a straight line for high tide, having a right angle for low tide between you, the Earth, and the Moon. And then, because those happen daily, twice a day, you have special cases, neap and spring, right? And those happen twice a month. Spring, you have to have full new moon. So you have to have a straight line of the sun, the moon, and the Earth. And then for neap, you have to have a right angle. So that means you have to have the sun, the moon, and the Earth with the moon at a first or third quarter. All right, remember neap means a more minimal tide and spring means a more extreme tide. Okay. Is Nikolai Mr. Purr? All right. You do read reminded only just for the first part. I don't know what that means because I put in when the quiz is posted with the link to the stream. Okay. So now the big moment everybody wants to know when it's being posted. It is posted now. Refresh Classroom if you don't see it. Good luck. I will release scores probably late today or once most people have taken it. And because people like seeing this, well, see, I emailed a couple people to check out Discord for me, but they never responded. You know, the one who's, actually asking me. So, if you would want a Discord to happen, one, it's blocked at school. And on your home Wi-Fi, I would assume through the website it would work. Probably not the app. I asked you guys to go to Discord, the website, and see if you guys can get to the website version of Discord. And if you can, I have a server already made. I have it ready to go. I just thought it was blocked, so I wasn't going to put it out there yet. If you guys can get to the website version on your Chromebooks, then I would kind of push it to the team because it would be like a place where you guys could kind of work in progress. Okay? No. All right, I know you have the phone app, but we would want you to make a non, personal account. We want you to make like a Jacob Siccione name. So if you guys get into Discord, I have the server made. But take a quiz. While you guys are working on the quiz, I'll see if I can pull that up. Well, that's what I was asking you guys to make another account, but you'd have to do it through the website. I don't think the app works on the Chromebook. Everybody's got a Chromebook, and everybody has like a phone or, their battle station at home. So those of you who don't really know what Discord is, it's an always live chat. You can have voice channels in there too. So I mean, we could have set up a science and ELA, a math, social studies servers. It could be just a general chat. Pretty useful. I mean, because YouTube stream chat only lasts during the stream. But this is what it looks like. I'll start looking at getting people into it maybe. Yeah, people are bad. They can go to the Shadow Realm. Yeah, but see, here's the problem, Rainy. You need to probably make another account so that you're not Jake the Snake. Because then the goal would be to get other people across the team in there, and they don't know that Jake the Snake is Jacob Rainey. Well, then we can't use it then, because we're trying to use it as a tool, not as a joke. It's Mighty Duck Science. I forgot you can set nicknames. Yeah, I remember. I know. That's true. That's fine, John. I'll probably send it out on Remind later. Brainy. Well, I can't pull up the question right now, Rainy. You can either email or send a remind for what your question is. Yes, Chromebook is required. You have to do it on your Chromebook. For question 17 on the modeling lunar phases, modeling eclipses, it repeats a question twice. When and where is the next lunar eclipse? Why won't the entire planet be able to see the next solar eclipse? When is the next penumbral eclipse? I'm not sure what you're referring to, Jack. You sure it was 17? Is there another one? 15 is the same as 17? That's just it's a typo. So, my fault. That should be lunar eclipse. 17's a typo. Should be lunar. Yep. Yes, Hike. Should say lunar. So you got to mark that modeling eclipses once you're all set with the quiz. No, thanks for pointing that out. Mr. G's favorite student. The fact that I don't know who that is troubling. Sharp drop at 7. That's interesting. People must be flipping or mixing up either high tide, low tide, or they must be mixing up spring tide and neap tide. You better be careful. If you mess up one, you're probably going to mess up the other. So it probably gives you either an 8 or a 6. Be careful. I never knew a dab emoji existed. I'm gonna ban the emoji. I'm double checking for you, Rainy, right now. Saw your remind message. Couple minutes, we're gonna transition over to modeling eclipses as more people are taking the quiz, getting that done. The dab emoji has been shown to destroy devices, cripple them. I always wanted to see what that does. Thanks, John. You're a good experiment. If you don't do as well as you hope on the DNAQ, remember revisions. I would review those notes, review that information, email me questions, and you are able to next week retake one more chance. But then that's it. Alright, modeling eclipses. So quick review of the explain and then jump down to number 14 through 17. Got to have that ready for Monday. Alright. 11. What would you see on the Earth during a solar eclipse? What would you see if you're an astronaut on the moon during a lunar eclipse? So during a solar eclipse, I gotta reset everything back to default. You would literally see what the simulator is telling you. View of sun from the Earth. You would see the moon moving in front of the sun. You would see the outline of the new moon. I think that's pretty key in remembering. You would see the only time you would ever see the new moon. You cannot see it during normal time because either it's tilted too far away from the sun or it's just too bright enough and you'll never see it to begin with. Alright, because it's reflecting no sunlight to you, so there's nothing to see in general. Alright. What would you see if you were an astronaut on the moon during a lunar eclipse? Well, the moon appears reddish-orangish during a lunar eclipse. So what would you see from the Earth? And so this is kind of a what if, but what do you think you would see? Why is the moon red during a lunar eclipse? Any of you have a thought? There's some bad guesses, then there's one really good guess, but then there's the one right answer. A lot of people usually say this other answer is just a good idea, but it's not quite it. Jack says, would you see the Earth's shadow? You would see the Earth partially dark, maybe. You're in the Earth's shadow, so you can't really see the shadow. Kim says wavelengths. Be more specific, Kim. Hike. The side of the moon we see should be daytime, full moon, but the Earth's shadow makes it seem like it's night on the moon. Well, that's what you would. Yes, that's exactly right, Hike. But that's what you'd see from the Earth to the moon. I'm asking if you're an astronaut and you're on the moon and you're looking at the Earth. What does the Earth look like? Because the moon is in the shadow of the Earth. Yes, that's true. Kim was on the right track there with wavelength. Jack was kind of getting there. Pull up the whiteboard. See if you guys can come up with it. The Earth's dark side, yeah, it's kind of like what Jack was saying. You see the shadow, you see the dark side of the moon. Shadowing Earth has a shadow. So let's picture the Earth, right? Here's the Earth. Technically speaking, what do you see from space normally? So let's kind of do this. Earth from space at night. You're definitely going to see lights. And so right here, you actually see the peninsula for Portugal right there. And Spain right here. France is over there. So you will definitely see lights. So you would, if I go back here, I mean, you would see lights. Most of it would look dark, though. But the big question is the moon looks red. That means red has to be casted onto the moon. The moon doesn't make its own light. So the red has to come from the Earth. So the red actually comes from the Earth's atmosphere. And so you would see the darkened Earth like at nighttime, like normal, but you would see the atmosphere as like a reddish color because, and it's not that's the other good explanation people try to come up with is it's light pollution. It's not. It's a good thought, but it's definitely coming from the Earth. It's sunlight that's refracted through the Earth's atmosphere to the moon. The red color bends towards the moon. And so really, if you're thinking about it from like a side point of view, the sun, Earth, that sunlight is hitting the Earth, but when it hits the atmosphere, it's going to refract. Red, orange/yellow, green, blue, purple, right? It's going to make Roy G. Biv. It's going to make a rainbow. It's going to refract in the Earth's atmosphere. That's why the sky is blue, right? Because sunlight refracts in the light into the air and makes our sky blue. Red is going to bend the most, and it's going to bend down towards the moon. So a lot of people think it's light pollution. Good guess? It's not. It's because the Earth's atmosphere acts as a prism, makes a rainbow. Red just lands on the moon. It's pretty cool. So you would see the Earth kind of outlined in red. 12. The actual tilt of the moon's orbit is around 5 degrees. We said up here that this 3-degree tilt, -3 or +3, means that we don't see an eclipse. So how does this affect eclipses? Well, we don't see eclipses. How would I know that? Just run the simulator at a 5-degree tilt. There's no solar eclipse. There's no lunar eclipse. But we know that we still get eclipses because we're studying them and we've heard about them and we've seen pictures of them. So how do we know that they actually happen? Okay? Even with this tilt, eclipses still happen over time. Why? Because this tilt, it's not exactly wobbling, but where it is in its tilt, this 5-degree tilt, over time will progress and regress to the point where sometimes it aligns perfectly with the sun. If the regression or progression of the tilt happens right at a full moon and you're right in the path of the shadow, you'll see the solar eclipse. So it's the rare alignment of the tilt, the moon, the sun, and the earth to make a solar eclipse. Because the moon is so small, it's incredibly rare. Because the earth is much bigger, lunar eclipses are more common. Okay? There's usually 1 or 2 lunar eclipses every year, depending on where you are on the planet. When nighttime is for you. So half the planet will see a lunar eclipse. Only a tiny portion will ever see a total solar eclipse. So that was the explain. It was pretty short. These next 4 are also pretty short too. When and where is the next solar eclipse? Will it be total or partial? Why won't the entire planet be able to see it? When and where is the next lunar eclipse? Will it be total or penumbral? Penumbral meaning indirect, so a slight partial eclipse. Why won't the entire planet be able to see the next lunar eclipse? Remember, that's a typo. It says solar, it should be lunar. Why won't the entire planet be able to see it? So you're going to go here. Eclipses are based on the positions of the sun, earth, and moon. Since the revolutions are cyclical, they are predictable. Use this resource to help you conduct research on upcoming eclipses on Earth, including Coventry. So you go to timeanddate.com/eclipse, and you find out when the next eclipses are. They're literally right there. Both are in the same month. Pretty interesting. So you go ahead and you put those months in there and the dates. Tell me if it's a total or partial, total or penumbral. And then tell me why the entire planet won't be able to see it. Alright? You can only see the moon at night, so you got to make sure, obviously full moon has to coincide when you have night. It's not always perfect. Okay? And then here, obviously the moon's so small, so why won't you be able to see an entire eclipse? Why in this next solar eclipse is only Africa, the Middle East, and Asia going to be able to see a partial eclipse, and why is only this tiny, tiny band right here that goes through China, northern India, Pakistan, into Yemen, Qatar, and then into Central Africa? Why is this tiny strip right here the place where you're only going to see a total eclipse? Alright. Charlie says the next supermoon is April 7th. So our next full moon is going to be a supermoon? That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. So it'll look a little bigger, slightly bigger. Wide range on this quiz. Some of you need to review. People not checking notes or checking the streams. You gotta make sure you're actually following through on the information. So again, you are doing this and then you are stopping. We will save 18, 19, 20, and 21 for Monday. We'll finish these 2 on Monday. We'll finish this document on Monday and turn it in. Okay? We'll also do a couple of quick diagrams of what an eclipse looks like from the side point of view of the Earth, and that will just be kind of as a review over the weekend from eclipses from this week to next week. Okay? And again, that's our last phenomenon of the Sun, Earth, and Moon. It is the end for this kind of smallish unit, and we'll take our unit test April 7th. The next time there's a supermoon, like Charlie said. Interesting. I'm assuming YF Naden is Hayden. John, stop spamming chat. That's not Hayden. Okay. Any final questions? I mean, you guys are taking the quiz, or you're finishing up modeling eclipses to what I said, just up to 18, which does not include 18. You're just finishing up to 17. So you are doing 11. Well, you should have had 11, 12, and 13 done. You're doing 14 to 17. And that's it. Charlie, are you on Remind? If you're on Remind, I'll send it out on Remind later. Again, if you're not on Remind, nope, that's for an old one. There we go. If you're not on Remind, this is how you join Remind. I suggest you download the app, Remind. It's a blue background, a little white cloud. Use the code at ASFMS So this code for the texting is used in the app to join it. All right. Mike wants to know, will we go over these questions on Monday? We will go over 14 and 17 on Monday. It'll be quick. Yeah, we're going to finish modeling eclipses on Monday. We'll go over those questions first and do a little bit of a diagram. Be part of your DNA. Well, maybe a diagram won't be part of your DNA because that'd be tough to do without knowing it. So the DNA will be about probably tides. I'll probably use the lowest rated score question from this last quiz on Monday, and then we'll use the rest about eclipses. Any final questions? Good, I'll take a look at it, Ryan. All right, so make sure this is taken care of. If you have any other questions, send it through Remind, send it through email. Okay, I'll respond to you when I can through today. I will release quiz scores later today when most people have taken it, maybe tomorrow, depending on when people are taking it. Your weekly sheet will be returned to you shortly. I've graded everybody who turned it in early last night. Revisions is going to be the primary focus next week when you're also working on your study guide, making sure that we're taking care of any loose ends from this week, because there was a lot of information, but again, we were trying to wrap up our unit, the Sun, Earth, and Moon. All right. This score I can just use it as a code, right? I'll be sending that link out. That will go out on Remind. Okay? The link's right there, Rainy. Oh, interesting. 100 uses. I might limit that. Fine. Thanks. All right. If there's no other science-related questions, science-related issues, I'll see you on Monday, 10 in the morning. We will go over eclipses. We'll go over the beginning part of the extend section of modeling eclipses. And then we will finish it and turn it in. All right? And the rest of the week we'll be working on the study guide next week. Okay? Have a good weekend. As best you can. Bye, Ezra. Bye, Kaylee. Bye, Rainey. Bye, Charlie. See you, Eric.